Mr. Chairman, that we have had in my short time here 2 or 3 instances where we've changed because the people in the area did not want sidewalks. Okay? And to me, it does not say we cannot put sidewalks in. It just says we have the option. That's what may means to me. And I don't, first of all, they referred to a couple of accidents. They weren't in relation to sidewalks, or people were crossing the road. The one I'm aware of on Ireland Road, the person was crossing the road. We're going to put sidewalks crossing roads now? I think we're getting into the very fine details on a local street, and I don't want to get into the details of it, but I've said this for a long time, and I lived on a local street for many years, and we walked on the edge of the road all over that subdivision, brand new subdivision at the time, and people had these scooters now that even though we have sidewalks, they don't use them, they use the road. It's more convenient because they don't have to deal with the expansion joints and contraction joints in the sidewalk. It's a lot smoother to ride on the pavement, plain and simple. You ask some of those people that use these scooters. All I'm saying is gives this council and people that live in these areas the option on local streets. Transportation corridors, to me, are more involved with collectors and arterial roads. Local roads are where, to me, that are a lot less traffic, and in many cases, very little parking on the street. If you look at the geometry of how these things are built today, you have proper setbacks for a house. They can park in their driveways, in their garage. There's very little parking on the streets. Granted, some of the older parts where Mr. Woodcock identified Turl in that area, maybe that's an area where at some future date they will need sidewalks. There's a lot of cases like that throughout Norfolk County. So I don't see it as a big issue. May does not eliminate the need for sidewalks. It just gives this council some options, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Councillor Oliver, did I have you? No. Councillor Columbus, then. I'm sorry, I didn't catch all the hands.
Councillor Broughton, just to add on, the word may does not restrict one way or the other, but it does offer some flexibility. And a lot of times, in the wintertime, the sidewalk is less safer than the road because the road is plowed. In the wintertime, a lot of times the sidewalk has a lot of snow on it and ice on it, and it's not cleaned off. So it's less safe at times.
Councillor Sonnenberg?
Thank you. Mr. Woodcock covered everything quite well. I've always been an advocate for sidewalks. It separates the pedestrians and the scooters and the tricycles from traffic. Add to that the drinking, speeding. Half the people on our roads now are texting, for gosh sakes. Let's separate the cars from the pedestrians. Thank you.
Mayor Luke?
Well, Mr. Chair, when someone is planning a new subdivision, I will not argue with anyone, and I agree that there should be a sidewalk in a residential area on one side. I don't care which side. That's good planning. That makes sense. Where we run into our problems is after people move in, and then they find out after they've lived there a year or two that somebody's going to put a sidewalk to somebody, we know who that is, and they're going to put it halfway between the curb and their front doorstep, cutting their front yard, their driveway, almost in half. We have to somehow solve that. I thought we had it solved. We dealt with this council a number of years ago of showing through our site plan agreement, signs, billboards, whatever you want to call them, with where the sidewalks are proposed on every street in that subdivision. A gravel walkway would be put in there even prior to the sidewalk going in, or the basement even going in, or the paved driveway or whatever. So, I'm not going to argue with anyone that it makes a lot of sense where people are living, where children are walking to school, etc., that we provide one sidewalk, that we shall do that. That makes sense to me. It's the problem we get in, the argument is when we're planning the subdivision or when the sidewalks are installed, it's when people find out 2 or 3 years later, why have I got a sidewalk coming up 15, 20 feet from the curb, potentially cutting what is perceived as my front yard almost in half? Limits the parking in the driveway, then they start parking on the street. We need to solve that. That's the issues that I'm running into for the most part. Not every situation, but for the most part, that's where the trouble is. Thank you.
Okay, I have no more speakers. You heard what the motion was through the clerk. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Those opposed? I'm voting no. It stays as it is. I would suggest that we need to put sidewalks, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it is in all cases. So theoretically, I think we can look at our developers and still, when they come forward here, we can deal with that at that time. That's why I did that. Anyway, Julianne, we seem to have a solution, so you want to come back? After that, I think we will take about a 10 or a 15-minute break. We only have 3 deputations left.
Requesting turning down the light. While we're doing that, I will plug Jane Bennett, Rob Pilch, Avery Raquel, Bill King, Mark Kelso, Colin Hunter, and Joe Seeley Quartet, DD and the Dirty Martinis, Red Hot Ramble, and tons more. Grammy nods, Juno wins, world-class entertainment, fabulous food. We need a little bit more volume. Thank you.
Had any real venues where it could be brought together. But there's a really huge interest that's developed around here, and I think this event right now is really a watershed moment for it.
Since its foundation in 2014, South Coast Jazz has attracted top jazz musicians like David Sanborn, Holly Cole, Gene Denovi, and Toronto's Shuffle Demons, and the support of media figures like broadcaster Brian Master and the legendary Deanie Petty, and the potential for growth is only beginning.
I've got to give them a high grade. I mean, it was, for the first year, it was just wonderful. We were all treated wonderfully. I just love the event and the ambiance here. It's perfect. It's a beautiful day. These events popping up here and there are really wonderful to keep us musicians working.
Norfolk County is known as Ontario's garden, and for good reason. With its long growing season and mild weather, the county is Canada's top producer of asparagus, cabbage, pumpkin, strawberries, and sweet corn, to name a few. It is also increasingly being recognized as a Canadian wine region, making it ripe for agritourism.
I know talking with the other winery owners, that we're all in agreement to work together because it's a benefit for the local community, it's a benefit for the people visiting the area, and it's only going to help the county in itself grow for tourism.
The story of South Coast Jazz is also the story of its founder, Julianne Kuchaki, who once upon a time dreamed of being a star on the Donnie and Marie Show. From her earliest years, all she wanted was to move to the music, and did she ever? She built a career that any performer would envy as a singer-dancer in Beauty and the Beast Japan, special events cast for Disney in Tokyo, as winner of Miss Dance Western New York and runner-up in Miss Dance America, as talent winner in Miss Canada, Miss Oktoberfest, and Miss Kitchener-Waterloo, appearing on stage around the world in films and television, in movies, series, and commercials. And oh yeah, she did get to work with Donnie in the U.S. and Canadian national tour of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And then, she was rear-ended. She worked to recover for almost 2 years, and through the discipline of dance, was able to return to performing, appearing in Cats in Germany. Unfortunately, she was hit again in 2000. After years of dealing with companies that refused her claims, she then faced her most serious accident in 2003, which stopped her from any quality of life for years to come. She was hit yet again in 2009, a secret she could no longer keep. 4 car accidents and therapy 5 days a week for over a decade, her career and body in ruins. And Julianne still burned with the desire to move to the music. The one thing that had always given her joy and in so many ways had saved her life. Despite facing physical and emotional restrictions she never imagined during the height of her success, including needing a wheelchair, crutches, and cane, she began producing, writing, singing, and recording.
Dancing girl, what did you think your life would be? A ribbon laid out at your feet.
Julianne's quick success as a recording artist was extraordinary in a profession where most toil forever without recognition. Her All Originals album, Broken Compass, charted in the top 10 across North America. And she was recently offered an Asian record deal through EQ Music in 4 countries, appearing both as a solo artist and in compilations with some of the biggest names in entertainment today.
Julianne's been great to work with. She's a wonderful person, good vision. I think that's the main thing. Is someone has to have a strong vision, and she has a strong vision for sure.
Bass drum saxophone.
After so much loss, Julianne needed a new direction and purpose. She'd always dreamed of someday starting a festival in Ontario, in the county where she spent so much of her life, featuring world-class musicians from Canada and beyond. South Coast Jazz is a natural progression in Julianne's life and career, and allows her to give back to others with the same unstoppable spirit and energy that made her unforgettable on stage. Julianne has brought 3 full seasons of amazing music to Norfolk County, drawing in local merchants, wineries, and restaurants. With every new event, she fulfills her promise to bring the region incredible award-winning talent in a gorgeous beachfront rural setting. Passing on her gifts to the next generation gave Julianne joy when she started her own performance school, Pro Arts, after her first car accidents, and she continues that commitment with South Coast Jazz and the Jazz and Juniors program, and most recently her nonprofit incorporation, South Coast Cultural Society, and its branch of Cool Cats that will also facilitate in giving back to all ages of the community through arts, music, and culture with live performances, education and outreach, and world-class event management. South Coast Jazz features performance by music students from regional schools and colleges that now have programs filtering into the festival, offering music education and a chance to play on the same stage as some of their idols.
Bass, drum, sax, boom. Bass, drum, sax, boom.
I do, on behalf of the Council of Norfolk County, extend warm and sincere greetings to you, and enjoy yourselves tremendously, please.
Fort Brother, it is wonderful to be here at this fabulous festival amongst all these wonderful musicians.
South Coast Jazz has already fulfilled its promise to bring world-class entertainment to the beautiful Garden of Ontario. The festival's first 3 years saw a 7-figure boost in local tourist spending, making South Coast Jazz a major economic driver and international tourist destination. Come play and stay and discover the rural experience of South Coast Jazz, what visitors from 50 cities, 4 provinces, and 3 states already have: the beauty of Ontario's garden and the pleasure of real instruments, real food, real memories.
You actually have 3 minutes left, so. Okay.
Well, I guess what we can do is, and I did time it. I'm behind everything, so I know that that's 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Just to reiterate that we're here today for a municipal significance, for the fees to be waived for the community center and arena. We're looking at signage and any kind of extra assistance from Norfolk County, as we are, as you can see, we've tracked it to the extent we spent a lot of money on this festival and behind the scenes and making sure that we're ready on the back end. We have over 10,000 on our mailing list now, and we have our own server, and we've really put in the work as far as promoting Norfolk County as well. We put these funds in ourselves. You can see that a lot of this video is about promoting Norfolk County, and we, on average, we're asking for about 1% back out of what we actually make for the county when these events happen, and any additional funding that you'd be willing to look at. There's a lot of funding out there for sports, and we have a lot of sports complex. We have yet to, as Mike MacArthur was saying in the video there, we don't have a facility. It costs us a lot of money to turn any of these venues into something, honestly, where big acts like this will come. They didn't want to play arenas, but you know, when we put $9,000 into pipe and drape and $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 just to open the doors, just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with here. And this year we haven't really been supported a lot financially with marketing, so we really need help getting the word out. If we could just sell our tickets, which start at $39 for a 3-day pass, since I still have time, we might as well plug that. Seriously accessible, literally, but at $39 for a 3-day pass with this kind of quality of entertainment, we have over 24 concerts happening within this 3 days, and we have 3 locations this year. In Norfolk County, we have Port Dover, Simcoe, and Turkey Point. So we'll be having the full schedules online now, and it is changing, it's growing as we collect more funds. We're still looking for more sponsors, volunteers, and sales reps to help get us through the season, and we're looking to Norfolk County to help in any way that they can.
Thank you very much. Right on the button. Councillor Wells.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you very much for being here. And I've read your report, and you're suggesting that through your organization that you may have contributed $1 million towards Norfolk County. Is that basically correct?
That's correct, over the last 3 years.
And could you explain how that came about?
Sure.
That number?
Sure. Without getting into major detail, there are a number of different measures, and when I first started all of this, it was largely just myself, and so I'd get out a pen and say, well, what if this many people drove here and spent this much at the gas station? And before I learned all of the different measures that there are through the government of Ontario, through surveys, through the ticket companies, which we use all of them, also our website tracking, and we also have our own server now, so we can see when we mail out to 10,000 people, who's opening them, how long they stay on the pages, stuff like that. And the government has been an excellent source of some of their different tools that they have in measuring, and so we plug in all of our information, and we get back that we make on average, well over $200,000 per event, and we're looking at 3 days worth of events this season, just for the main event, not to mention our year-round series.
Further questions?
Yes, my second question, Mr. Chair. I understand that you are financially challenged in terms of, and you are asking Norfolk County for help. What exactly are you asking for, and what kind of assistance are you asking for, besides the waiving of the fees?
Besides the waiving of the fees, which we're looking at to secure this year's buildings and the deposit that's required for next year, which is at the $5,000 mark, we're looking to Norfolk County for any additional funding that you would be able to supply. We would love it if you would be anywhere within $10,000 and over range. I understand that you've had different people coming here to the table. We've been at this now, this is our 4th year. We do have an extremely large return on the investment, which would be us. We can track all of that for you, and we're looking to Norfolk County for 10,000 plus, or anything that you see fit, because we are financially challenged this season. It's the CAN 150. We actually, in our lineup, had agreed in writing from the agents over $1 million project, but with 1,600 different people applying for about 100 spots. We applied through our not-for-profit, and we're less than a year old, and I probably would have done the same thing, just went whoosh, to anybody that's less than 2 years old. But we had, for instance, just with the back reputation of South Coast Jazz and our team, were able to secure Loverboy, Platinum Blonde, Buffy St. Marie, and Tim Hicks, and we weren't able to get any of them. So we were able to get our jazz headliner, which is Jane Bennett and McKay, and they're coming in. Her team is from the McKay part of the Jane Bennett is from Cuba, so we've still managed to be able to bring them in. The musicians are working for a lot less than what they should, just mostly because of our reputation and what they see that we're trying to do here in Norfolk County. But I really honestly believe that tourism is one of the major things that we need to look at here for making money. We look at taxes and all the other things that aren't making money. Tourism is, and we're at the forefront of all of the information and the tools and the tactics, and I'm more than willing to share with the county as well on how we've done that. So we can help other projects, we can help Norfolk County. When I first started doing this, like I said, I just started doing it myself, and then I went out to a lot of other festivals and I met with their directors. Hey, am I on the right track here? And then we've grown our team with different, now we have salespeople and obviously different people in different departments. It's grown. But because of having to be there from the ground up, I can answer any of these questions for you and let you know that we are the head of the pack here in Norfolk County for sure when it comes to tracking anything.
Councillor Brunton, then Oliver and Columbus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you to Julianne. Julianne, I must say I'm quite impressed with your background and all your enthusiasm, but I'm a little bit confused when you mentioned August 18th and 19th is the Dover Jazz Festival, correct?
August 18th, 19th, and 20th is what we refer to as the main event, and there are several different locations. And the Port Dover Community Center and Arena is on the 18th and 19th. On the 20th, we're at Burning Kiln Winery.
Okay, well, a few months back, and I'm trying to get, you had these plans for Waterford, Simcoe, Dover. Is that still in the works or no?
We have 3 out of the 5 locations because of funding.
Okay, but when you say 3 out of the 5, what are they?
Well, we've gone with 3 locations, Port Dover, Simcoe, and Turkey Point. We did have Delhi in the mix. We applied for grants for all of these locations. And as you guys know, I've been here for a couple of years saying that we wanted to do the 5 downtown cores. And that has been our vision the whole time. But with funding this year, unfortunately,
okay. And my next question, are you a profit or non-profit organization?
We have 2 partners that are involved in this project, mainly South Coast Jazz, partnering with South Coast Cultural Society, which is a not-for-profit. South Coast Jazz is for-profit currently.
So the 3 events are in the profit, like the Port Dover Arena and the Community Center, that festival there, is it a profit-making organization or non-profit?
Well, that's a loaded question. We're definitely not to the point where we're making profits, but South Coast Jazz is a for-profit company. South Coast Cultural Society is a not-for-profit company.
Okay, and I guess my question is, the profit-making company, is it making enough profits that you don't need our help or you do need our help?
We would not be here if it was.
Have you provided any financials to our staff?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Julianne, for coming again this year. Part of your request to us, although I'm not seeing it necessarily, yes, it is municipal significance. As I recall, 2 or 3 years ago, I think council passed a resolution that we would designate South Coast Jazz in that 3rd weekend in August as the official Norfolk County Jazz Festival, up until and including, I think, 2018.
That's correct.
Okay, well then why isn't that sufficient in terms of our municipal significance designation, or?
It should be. I'm just here to request a letter for 2017 specifically for our SOP.
What's your SOP?
For the liquor license.
Special occasion permit. Okay,
correct.
all right. And you need one, I gather. Okay, and the deputy clerk.
We do need
Now
one.
I understand. Thank you. I think that's all I need for now, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Columbus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and that was a very impressive video, I must say. I recognize the voiceover on it quite well. Michael Badaway.
Michael Badaway.
Do you do any gigs outside the county with this South Coast Jazz?
Me personally?
No, the whole group as a whole, or
South Coast Jazz is Norfolk County area. Yeah, Haldeman, Norfolk. We did have a CAN 150 project where we were going for funding for 4 different areas, but we did not get the funding.
Okay, but do you work outside the county as well?
We don't.
You don't?
We're Norfolk
Okay.
County.
And are all of you volunteers on this organization?
Nobody was a volunteer last year. We paid everybody.
You paid everybody. Okay. And are you familiar, we usually have a mayor and councilors grant program that you can apply to. I think it's been mentioned around this table before through Mr. Baird's department. Are you familiar with that program, and did you apply at that time for funding?
Is that a not-for-profit scenario, that you need to be not-for-profit? Because we've started our not-for-profit just last year.
Well, perhaps Mr. Baird can answer that. I don't know.
But I have exhausted pretty much. I mean, I think that Norfolk County knows that we've been looking for support for the festival for a while. Most other jazz festivals are supported by their counties because they do bring in a lot of extra, economic development that wouldn't otherwise necessarily be there.
Okay, thanks for answering my question.
Further? Councilor Mayor Luke.
Thank you, and Julianne, it's good to see you again. And thank you for your work and your promotion of the county. You really do believe in our county. But I do have some questions. Certainly, Councillor Oliver has raised the premier jazz festival of Norfolk County through to 2018. Are the fees not already waived for the arena and the community center for 2017 or not? Do you know?
No, they're not.
They are not. Then they were last year.
They were.
Okay, so that's one we can consider. When you talk in number 2 through the chair to you, Julianne, about the signage for the South Coast Jazz in county key locations, are you talking about permission to put up signs on county property in key locations?
Yes, I believe that we would obviously need some permission to do that.
Yes,
and
I think it's a good idea. But I'll let you answer my question.
We like to do things by the book. We are looking for some official signage, much like one of our performers that we're featuring that we believe in from this county, actually. Lucas Wilson will be putting together a brand new illusions for a bigger stage. So he's got some. They're very eye-catching when you come in, so you know he's here. The Norfolk County Fair has some when they come in, you know when it is. I think it would be very beneficial to have them on a year-round basis, especially given that we have year-round events, and we'd like to get more people to know about this.
And thank you for that. So that addresses 1, 2, and 3 of your agenda as you have it here. Mr. Chair, through you to Julianne, let's go to number 4. You're here saying you could use some additional funding, correct?
Yes.
And I have to be honest with you, we're not normally, at least I'll speak for myself, I'm not normally used to, and I don't want to say at the last minute because there's been a number of things that have happened to bring you here this evening, finally.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that normally I'm not used to someone coming and saying, we need additional funds. In just sort of, I don't want to say at the last minute, but I feel a little bit like, first of all, Mr. Chair, I don't know how much additional funds. It's pretty open-ended when you say, I want some additional funds. And you may not feel comfortable saying, this is what would really, really help. Everything you said this evening, I agree as far as the promoting of the county. This is something new, it's something different. I think Norfolk County, Mr. Chair, if I may, is a great choice that you've selected to promote, and the music, your dream, if I will, and we're really glad that you have chosen Norfolk County. I just feel that we need somehow to get a heads up or a running start at this in the way of funding, and I don't, I don't disagree with everything you've said, the benefits of a jazz festival and the type of concerts moving around the county is remarkable. You have a lot of energy. However, we
running
don't
out.
have a lot of money.
We're running out of energy, and we're definitely running out of funds this year.
Yeah,
It's been
and
challenging.
so, you know, we, as a council, I think it's fair to say, and I'll let other councils speak for themselves, don't normally just deal with giving grant money or giving tax money to events, sort of, you know, we're basically 2 months away. And we don't know any financial statements, we don't know a lot of things here to make myself personally informed decision, as much as I want to
I'd be
support.
happy to show you the budget and where we're at. To answer your question as far as what we could use, well, like I said, anything over the $10,000 mark would be extremely beneficial. We asked for $20,000 before, and we were turned down, so I figured I would ask for 10, and you know, state the case with all of the background that we've had if you haven't had an opportunity to actually get out to the festival. And just to address Mayor Luke, we are a year-round jazz festival, so this is the main event for this year, but it does happen all year round in different rural settings, if you will. We try to find and highlight some of Norfolk County's best places, churches and different venues. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to just say in closing to Julianne, I'm not trying to, in my questioning of your funding request, make you feel uncomfortable. I can tell you I feel uncomfortable dealing with the request when, A, it doesn't say how much you would like, and I haven't seen a financial statement. So we'll leave it at that for the moment. Thank you.
Councillor Wells.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Julianne, one of your requests was for signage at strategic locations. Who would be paying for that signage? And do you have a prototype?
What we would ideally like is the logo for South Coast Jazz, probably somewhere in the range of 1.5 feet or 2 feet by 3 feet, with the logo for South Coast Jazz, and then stating that we have the third week of August set aside, and then contact information on that 2.5 by 3 foot sign. That would, I think, really be beneficial as you come into on Highway 6 from Hamilton direction, one there, and also when you come in the other end of Highway 6, depending on Norfolk Street, depending on if you're from here or not from here, right before the arena, so that they know when they're coming into from that direction. And then also maybe towards Turkey Point, because we do have a long-standing relationship with Burning Kiln, and we are attached with them for our main event. Perhaps on Highway 3 at 24 and 3, somewhere in there. Those would be the immediate locations. As for paying for them, I have to say, completely uneducated on how that goes about and if we are completely responsible for that or if there's any funding for that, but we would, if it was necessary, fund those. And what very little marketing budget we have, I think it would be a worthwhile investment.
And my last question, Mr. Chair, thank you very much, would be, several times during your presentation, you mentioned that you were running short of funds this year. Were you in a better financial position last year?
Well, you learn as you go, you learn a lot, and I'm becoming a wizard at doing things with next to no funds. We've had to lower the cost of everything this year because we're in this position, we have a couple of months to still try to find sponsors and funding. I think it's a worthwhile investment for anybody, and the exposure that we have, including with Norfolk County, on promoting and getting the word out is, I know what happens on the back end with us, so we do a very good job of marketing. We get the word out, we have a huge audience, we're prepared on the back end, and we have a huge mailing list, and we're partnered with all of the newspapers around here, all of the radio stations around here. We've got different partnerships with them, so it's kind of like you get everything in one with us as an events company who can either do your event, but in this case with South Coast Jazz and promoting Norfolk County. And we've been doing an excellent job of promoting you. 60% of our audience comes from somewhere else outside of Norfolk County. It's a very highly traveled tourist audience. Over 60% of the audience is tourists more than 40 kilometers outside of Norfolk County. So it is a worthwhile investment. We've put a lot of time, money. We're very well put together as far as marketing Norfolk County. And I think $10,000, I mean, if you were to go ask somebody to promote you and you're going to get promoted for a year solid, in and out, year in, year out, you're going to pay more than $10,000.
I have no further questions, so what is council's, like, I guess? What do you want to do? Councillor Wells and then Councillor Black.
Move that we receive the deputation as information for now, Mr. Chair.
Okay, all those in favor? That is carried. You may sit down. Thank you very much. Councillor Black?
I think we can at the very least get started by moving the motion of support, the municipal significance. I think we've done that, and she's requesting that. I don't have any problem with that one at all, and I'll make that a motion.
Okay, Councillor Black has made that motion. Any questions or comments on that? All those in favor? That is carried. Anything further?
Yes.
Councillor Black?
Well,
Why
yes.
didn't we put it all together?
Well, because it's separate. I'm just wondering about the signs and the waiving of fees, and we always have to go back to being fair with all of our groups, because we do have more than just the South Coast Festival. There's many festivals, and I believe we do have some sort of policy. Can I ask staff, maybe is it Chris Baird? Is this policy for festivals and fee waiving and signage and all these things, is that in your department? What is our policy where we try to be fair to everyone?
Through the chair, first and foremost, the program is actually under the mayor and council's budget. It's a grants to other program, and it was suggested there's an application with an October 1st deadline for the following year, so that opportunity is available. It is for not-for-profit applicants. That fund right now, I believe, has about $12,000 remaining, and that is what historically council has used. Council's not waiving the fees. They're essentially granting them from their budget into, in this case, Mr. Cridland's facilities, the community halls, and so on, so that his department doesn't lose the money. Those are the funds they need to operate that event. But council is essentially granting those costs to the applicant or the requester.
Okay, so and we did this. We granted the fees last year, did we? For the two. We did.
We did, yes.
Okay. Well, if we did that last year, and that comes out of the grant budget, right? No.
That's correct, through the chair.
Yeah. So into Mr. Cridland's budget. So I would make that a motion.
So what we're going to do is the arena, is that basically what you're talking about?
Well,
not the 10,000?
The community center, and what was it? The
community center. And the community center? Is it the community center and the arena? Okay.
It was the two, I think. Fee waives arena and community center, yeah. So if that's what we did last year, and the way we did it was take that money out of the grants and then give it to Mr. Cridland.
Okay. You're making that a motion?
Yeah, not Mr. Cridland, but his department.
His department, okay. We can't get rid of him, okay. Or sell him off. Councillor Wells.
Can we ask what amount that would be?
Who's going to tell me? Can you tell us that, Bill?
Through the chair, I did have staff prepare some paperwork on that. If we were talking about the 3-day event for the arena in the community center, total with taxes, I believe, are $2,440.80. $2,440.80.
I thought there was only 2 days in Port Dover. Sorry? Okay. Go ahead. Those were the costs for the 2 days. Councilor Brunton.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I'm a little confused. When we proclaim something a significant event, what does that mean? What does that go? What goes with it? Huh? And I guess with that question, I wondered, like, the other Port Dover Festival, they have in the park, the Simcoe Festival in the park, the July 1st, all those kind of things, are they significant events too? Or what's the purpose of the designation?
Go ahead.
Through the chairman, this particular event falls under the special event policy and permit process. So the reason that the individual is here tonight is to get municipal significance, and that is for the purpose of obtaining a special occasion permit through the AGCO. So we have to do that on an annual basis every time they apply for a special occasion permit. So that's the reason for designating it as municipal significance. Other events do come forward to council for municipal significance if they are applying for a special occasion permit as well. Council last year also proclaimed this event as, I don't have the proper wording, but the premier jazz festival of Norfolk County as a separate resolution.
And does that hold any significance?
Through the chair, I believe if you talk to the event organizer, it's important from a marketing strategy for her to be able to market the event as a premier event in Norfolk County.
Okay, my last question, if I may, Mr. Chairman, is all the other events that I mentioned, do we exempt them from fees? Park fees, whatever they're renting?
Through the chairman, again, I would defer back to Mr. Baird and the council grant application. There is a process, and some events do apply through that process and do receive grants. I'm not aware of just sort of all events being waived fees through the grant process. So some events do pay for the facilities that are using, and others do apply through the grant funding available with the county.
Thank you.
Councillor Height.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was wondering if I could ask the treasurer to confirm the balance of the council and mayor grant program. I remember at TDAB we went through quite a bit of it, and then council decided we weren't going to be cheap and not give out any more money. And I think the balance is somewhere around $23,000.
Through the chair, unfortunately, I don't have that information right now, but I will get it as soon as possible. I did look at our statement of operations for what we budgeted for grants, and it's just that we had a lot of grants there that we budgeted for, so I am thinking anything above and beyond what we've budgeted for grants to organizations would be a variance for 2017. But I will double check what you are talking about, Councillor Height.
Mr. Baird, did you have something you want to add?
Certainly, I think Mr. Johnson will be able to give you an up-to-the-minute amount, but I know Councillor Height, you're very involved with the TDAB group. Just to kind of frame it, the grants to others for this program is $62,000. It's $1 per capita, and TDAB and subsequently Council approved $39,000 in grants to those applicants. That left a balance remaining of $23,000, and that came forward to a report earlier in the year. And if James can find that figure for you here this evening, that might be helpful.
Okay, thank you for that. Mr. Baird, one more question through the chair. What was the maximum that we gave out? Wasn't it $5,000?
The maximum that you gave out was $10,000 with conditions, and that was for the Port Dover Board of Trade and Cultural Festivals for Downtown Cores, a program they were hoping to do. But typically, festivals get $2,000, high school bursaries are $500, and the other grants range from $1,500 to $3,000 for those other 10 or 12 applicants.
Okay, thank you for that.
James?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To Councillor Height, through the miracle of technology and excellent staff that I have watching tonight, the amount that is left to allocate for that grant is $11,800.
11,000. Where'd the 12,000 extra go? Did that go to Mr. Cridlin? Okay, we'll have to find that $12,000. I guess if I could, maybe Councillor Black would be okay with amending the motion so that we could deal with the signs and allow them to happen. I don't see where we need to have 4 motions to deal with each 4 of these items.
I was hoping we could put it all together, but that's not the way it has come through. So are you making that a motion?
I'll amend that. I'll make the amendment.
To make the amendment that we include the Sorry?
Signage, locations.
Signage? Theoretically, there's no cost for us to that. Is that correct? They just simply have, I guess, permission to put it up. Okay? See the clerk typing away, so we'll get that in a minute. Councillor Columbus.
Yes, it was mentioned that there's no marketing budget in this note that we got on page 15 of the 415 pages we're dealing with tonight. Is there any opportunity for our Economic Development Department to help promote this event? Or perhaps they are already, Mr. Baird. Can they do more marketing through I forget what you call the tourism promotion event, partnership event?
Through the chair, yeah, absolutely. All our social media channels, we would promote. It's a great event. We know it really does draw a lot of people. So, without a doubt, we can do that. That's a low or no cost option. I can review it with my staff first thing tomorrow. We're not really in the print business at this point in the year, so it would be mostly electronic targeted.
Like that, I suppose it doesn't need a motion or another motion to be involved in the recommendation, but I think it's just direction. Would that work?
Will that work if council is...
I'll take your direction,
Direction
Mr. Chairman, and take it from there.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Brunton.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Chris, you mentioned all those organizations that we've allocated $39,000 to. Are they all nonprofit or profit?
Through the chair, they're all eligible applicants. They're all not-for-profit.
Not-for-profit, okay. So this motion, if it proceeds, is this, I'll call it in cash in lieu or whatever you want to call it, is it going to the profit or non-profit organization? Which one is it going to?
That's basically what we're doing is waiving the fees on the community center and the arena. Theoretically, I would suggest that takes part of that away from the cost for jazz festival.
Well, that's my question. Is that she mentioned that there's a profit organization and a non-profit organization. So which one are we giving the money to?
I can't answer that. I don't know if anybody else...
Well, I guess I'll put it this way. I mean, we have a policy where they apply if they're nonprofit to get money. And if we're going to start giving money away to profit-making organizations, that's a whole different ballgame. And I'd like to see a financial audit or statement from these groups and from the nonprofit. I think we asked from the nonprofit groups a financial statement as a condition of giving them their grant. So are we making an exception to that? If we are, well, so be it. But I think the other people, we're making them toe the line. What's the difference? Thank you.
Further? If not, I'll have the clerk read what we have to deal with yet.
Councillor Black's main motion as amended by Councillor Height, that the rental cost of the Port Dover Community Centre and Arena August 18th and 19th be approved through Mayor and Council grants to others budget line in the amount of $2,480, and that South Coast Jazz Festival be permitted to post signage at strategic locations throughout Norfolk County.
Questions or comments? Councillor Height, Councillor Oliver, and then Councillor Wells.
Could you verify that amount?
$2,480?
Isn't it 2440.80?
Sorry, that's correct. $2,440.80.
As amended. Okay. Councillor Oliver?
Mr. Chair, that was going to be my question to Mr. Baird, or to Mr. Cridlin, I'm sorry, Bill. That was the amount last year, was it, which represented the granting of the equivalent of the fees for the two facilities for 2 days last year. Is that correct?
Through the chair, the documents I have are hot off the press. They're 217 rates because the two facilities had been set aside in anticipation.
Yes, right.
No fees have been paid yet, and as part of the contract, the rental agreement, the prices are added up automatically. So I can double check that at SLT tomorrow, but that's the 217.
I know Julianne in her deputation, she only referenced the 2 days, and yet somebody made reference to a 3-day waiving. And it's obviously only 2 days that our facilities are being referenced in this motion. So as long as the number you have is for 2 days worth of deferral, not 3.
Through the chair, this paperwork says August 18th and August 19th. Is that
Okay.
correct?
That's correct. All right, thank you very much for that.
Councillor Wells, did you have something you wanted to add?
Well, I have something that I want to say and to the organizers of this event. I think we are struggling here to be supportive, but unfortunately we are placed in a very awkward position because the event is going to take place very soon. And I would suggest that we have a process where they should be applying, and next year they should apply to that process, and I will tell you that I will support this year, but if we come in at the last hour and ask for support, I will not be supporting this event any longer. And you can make every organization and everybody that organizes events can come in and make the same pitch to us. Mr. Chair, we have a process, and they should be applying to the proper process. And we can't continually make exceptions. It defeats the whole reason that we have a process put in place. And it'd be different if this was just a one-off, but this is not a one-off. And I appreciate and support all the efforts that this committee has gone through. But again, I think that if they're looking for money from Norfolk County, they should be here at the proper time and place, the same as all other organizing committees. Thank you.
Mayor Luke?
Mr. Chair, could I ask that you call the question on the motion for rental, waiving of the rental fees and permission to put the signs on?
Okay.
Please.
I'll call all those in favor? Those opposed? None. Oh, one. Sorry. Okay. But it has passed. Where are we going from here? Is that the end of it, or is there something else that somebody wants to bring forward? If not, I guess we're done. We have 2 more deputations. Sam Bunting, they've been sitting here just about as long as we have, and Dave Rowe. Do you want to take a break? So let's say back at 5 after 6. Thank you.
Like that.